Aloha, folks. You are listening to Inside the Desert Oasis Room, episode number 121. This episode is sponsored by the Tiki Bar T-Shirt Club, where their monthly T-shirt designs pay tribute to a Polynesian bar or restaurant from days long past. Each design is available for a limited time and will never be produced again. For the collectors out there, be sure to check out their subscription program, where they offer a discounted 3, 6, or 12-month plan, or you can always buy shirts one at a time. For more information and to check out this month's shirt, visit tikibartshirtclub.com. Today we chat with Jaymee Mandeville and Boris Hamilton. Jaymee Mandeville is a former career mixologist and current senior brand ambassador for Bacardi USA. And joining us for our chat is our old friend Boris Hamilton. We recorded this episode live and direct from DAMA, located in the Fashion District of Los Angeles, California. Learn about Bacardi's lineage, their rich history, their product portfolio, and what the future holds for their aged spirits. As always, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did bringing it to you. And if you did, hit that subscribe button. Subscribing makes it easier for you to follow our adventures. Shares on your social media pages are always appreciated. And if you'd like to help support the show, go to desertoasisroom.com to pick up some merch or make a donation. Every purchase or donation, no matter the size, is totally appreciated and helps keep this podcast coming to you every week. Alrighty then, grab a seat and have some rum with us. Here's Jaymee Mandeville and Boris Hamilton.
Desert Oasis Room. Hi, Boris.
Hey, Jaymee, how are you?
Aloha.
I'm good.
Good. You look good.
Thank
Your
you.
toenails are fabulous.
Thank you. I just had them done today.
Oh, wonderful.
Winter blue.
See, now you had to make me look because you said that.
Oh,
So I had to go look at the
I'll be here
color.
later.
I had to go look at the color.
Winter blue.
Well, thanks for joining the podcast, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We do this Inside the Desert Oasis Room less and less inside the Desert Oasis Room. We're doing this more on the road now, just because we have more fun doing it that way. But we are in a newish space down here in the Fashion District in downtown LA at a place called DAMA.
Yes.
How cool is this spot? This is my first time here.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, basically nothing was in this area before a few of these restaurants started populating. It was just like fashion warehouses.
Yeah.
As maybe listeners can't hear, but there is still construction going on around here.
Is someone vacuuming a car?
Yeah, someone's vacuuming inside. Well, earlier there was a leaf blower.
Yeah.
You know, the leaf blower was pretty loud. Yeah, I can barely hear that one. That's not so bad.
All right.
Yeah, you know, like, this whole area looks super cool. If you go that way, like you go west like 2 blocks, it still looks like old LA.
Right.
But you start going out this way, and it's starting to get this really kind of trendy vibe now.
Yes.
You know, and I remember the days in downtown when it was real sketchy no matter where you went. But now it's the other way around. Like, it seems like anywhere you go now in downtown is kind of hip and cool.
Yeah, and there's a couple little pockets of sketchiness
Yes.
just to keep that little grittiness of downtown for sure.
You know, when you're
Yeah.
driving somewhere on a Saturday night and you're in a hurry, that's when you have to drive through the sketchy parts. But
Right.
overall, if you have time, you
Well, it's
can
good to be in a
avoid it.
car then, right?
Yes, it is.
That's right. And so for our listeners that don't know, obviously we have our friend Boris Hamilton here on the show. He's our favorite, right, Boris?
Yes, I'm your favorite.
He's our favorite.
Not a fan favorite.
If Boris
but your
is not
favorite.
on the show as a guest, he's on the show as a topic of some sort. We always have Boris on almost every episode.
That's why you're the favorite.
That's why he's
It's
the
more
favorite.
like an
Right.
odds game.
Uh-huh.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
You're my favorite. Don't worry.
And our female voice, our sexy female voice, is Miss Jaymee Mandeville. Mandeville.
That's it.
She's my favorite.
And there you go. She's my
Okay.
favorite too.
See, everybody's favorite. But yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
I appreciate you joining us, Jaymee.
Yeah, I actually met Boris when I was a bartender. He was a regular at my bar. Imagine that.
Oh,
Yes.
really? What bar is this?
It was Drago Centro. It's
Okay.
an Italian restaurant.
Over in the financial district of LA.
Which-
so,
Oh,
It's wonderful.
okay.
I went on a Thrillist punch crawl, and I had seen earlier that Jaymee had done a summer menu there with a Mai Tai on it, and I was like, I need to go try that Mai Tai.
Okay.
And then the punch crawl came up, and I was like, fine, I'll drink the punch, and then when everyone else is wandering around, I'm going to get a Mai Tai. And I went up to Jaymee and I said, I know there's a Mai Tai on the menu. And she's like, not right now, but I can make you one. And it was wonderful. And then I was like, I'm coming back here.
So, I use the Mai Tai as the measuring stick for the bars that I go to, because you go to a bar and if they're dumping grenadine and pineapple juice and all kinds of stuff like that into a Mai Tai, right off the bat, it makes me question what the rest of their cocktails are going to be like. Right.
Wait, you don't like the hyper-colored red ones?
No, not I don't like the pink ones either.
But so it was really good. Everything, the punch was good. The Mai Tai was good. And then Mark Holt would always come down and he'd be like, what's new? So I took him there. And then once I took him there once, there was no getting him out of there every time. Yeah. And then it became like every 3 weeks he was coming down.
Oh, you know what? Mark Holt told me about that bar.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I know that
It's definitely Mark's favorite. I would see him more often than I'd see a lot of my regulars that lived in Los Angeles.
Yeah. But we'd say, okay, we're gonna go to Drago. We'll see Jaymee. We'll get some drinks, and then we'll go somewhere else. And he'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't get him out.
I haven't seen Mark in a long time.
He has a job, so.
Oh, he does?
That's why.
Okay, all right. Well, hello, Mark. Shout out to you.
Hi,
we
Mark.
miss you, buddy.
Very much.
Yeah. So tell us about your background, Jaymee, because we were talking before we started recording, and I was rather impressed by that.
So I've spent about 10 years as a bartender in Los Angeles. Started off in nightclubs doing bottle service, slinging cocktails here and there. And then was really part of LA as that movement happened into craft cocktails. And like we talked a little bit about like downtown and the resurgence of downtown, and that it's actually become a destination versus someplace that you just drive through really quickly.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
It was an exciting time to be a part of a community and to really grow up as a bartender. And then the past 6 years, I've been working with Bacardi. So I've been an ambassador with Bacardi, kind of looking after basically most of North America, but sort of razor focusing on Texas moving westward and working with bartenders. And, it's one of those things people ask me like, oh, okay, well, you're like out there to like teach bartenders how to mix cocktails. And that's really not it. I usually work with bartenders that already know how to mix cocktails and really talk to a little bit more of the production and the heritage behind the brands. Because Bacardi is a family-owned company, but we have like over 200 brands that we distribute in the U.S.
200 brands.
Yes.
That's insane. Now, I know a few of them, but I didn't know there was 200.
Yeah.
Wow. What are some of the more popular ones?
So, Bacardi, obviously the flagship, and then Grey Goose, vodka, Dewar's Scotch, I would say Bombay Sapphire Gin. Those are the ones that pretty much like any like household will know those or be able to pick those brands
now, what's
off
the littlest
bar.
one?
So, some of the brands that we picked up, which are really exciting, are like Santa Teresa Rum from Venezuela, which is really amazing. You didn't know that, did you?
I didn't.
I didn't either.
I didn't.
And then we have some brands that we've grown up, basically from concept beyond, like Oxley Gin, which is a really interesting, like cold distilled gin.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So all across the board. I actually brought some Bacardi too. We should probably.
Let's do that.
No.
So, right? Even though, like,
do we drink on this show?
I was told that inside the desert oasis meant that we had to create the whole ambiance. So I'm doing my best being a first timer on this to, like, help do so.
And thank you, Jaymee. I think you're doing a fine job.
We were talking earlier before you got here because my daiquiri is so wonderful. What came first, daiquiri or lemonade?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right? So we were stumped by that so here's the thing. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my trip to Bacardi. I went to the Bacardi distillery back in 2012. And, when I was there, I think that they had just recently celebrated their 150th birthday, anniversary, whatever you want to call that. They had spent 75 years in Cuba and then 75 years in Puerto Rico at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was telling Boris was when I was at the distillery, one of the bartenders there, one of the things that he said to me was that Bacardi had formulated 3 cocktails. The 3 that they invented were the Mojito, the Daiquiri, and the Cuba Libre.
Yes.
And if that is truly the case, then that Daiquiri, which is basically rum, sugar, and lime, it's a lemonade, right? Just with rum
just
instead
with rum
of
in it.
instead of water. Instead of water. And if that happened in the 1800s, when was the lemonade?
Well,
Was it during the Depression when kids were selling it on the sidewalk? Cheers, by the way, you guys.
yes,
Cheers.
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 I would assume lemonades have been around since, probably the 1700s or something like that. But
Wow, this is good.
The daiquiri could have been too. When was ice and when was regular guy get it out of your kitchen ice or get it from a place ice ready?
Right. Well, I think it really like kind of stipulates on citrus, right, for both of them to jump in.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
I don't know. That's like the chicken versus the egg question.
Yeah, but it's wonderful.
And you know what? I just
prefer the
realized
daiquiri to lemonade.
I made a mistake. Lemonade is lemon, and the daiquiri is lime. So
Right,
Lime,
but it's
yeah.
still the same concept.
yeah. When Jaymee said citrus, I thought, oh wait a second.
Oh,
yeah. So,
right. Okay. Well, what would happen if you made a lemon daiquiri?
Find out. Let's find out.
We should find out.
Okay, cool.
I'm sure it'd be really
Well,
good.
our mouths
Was it
would probably be all
couple
puckery.
years ago during the cartel crisis, right? I think everyone was using lemon versus lime.
Yeah, I know Trader
Because
Vic's.
It was
One
like
of
a
the
couple
limes-
dollars for
Yes.
Limes
one
are
lime.
so expensive.
Trader Vic's was substituting lemonade or lemons,
Lemons
for
for
limes. I think in the Mai
limes,
Tai.
Well, there's a
Dirty.
local Mexican restaurant that switched over to the lemons, and they never went back to limes.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so when you get your burritos and your tacos and all that, they give you sliced lemons.
Oh wow!
Which doesn't taste the same.
It's not
No,
the same.
no,
I
it's
like
not.
lemon with my sushi. I like limes with my daiquiris.
I like lemon with my sushi too.
I do too.
Wow, I thought I was the only one that did that.
See?
Wow.
See, we found each other. It's
There you go. There you go. Now our listeners are going to go and try lemon on their sushi.
Okay, so what did we just sip? Because I know he gave us a glass to pour it out, but I'm not doing that.
Don't pour it out. It's really
It's all
good.
going in.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm not doing that. When he said, oh yeah, this
So-
is the dump glass, I'm like, I don't do
So
anything.
I brought along with me Bacardi Quattro, which is our 4-year. We always put on our bottles the lowest, the youngest rum in our bottling. So
Okay.
it's really the more median range of it is 4 to 6 years. So Bacardi came out with these about a year ago, just to flank our Reserva, our original family Reserva blend, Bacardi Ocho. So we came out with a 10 as well as a 4.
Oh, you call it ocho.
Ocho.
Is that what everybody in the company calls it?
We're getting back to kind of referring to our brands and more of their heritage
Okay.
names.
Are
So
you
sometimes even on Bacardi Superior.
You're the first person that I've heard it call it ocho.
Because it says Ron on the label also.
Yeah. So
Yes.
and as you see from the labels too, we've gone back to more of a heritage style with the
cool.
labels. So even on Superior, which has had many names over the years, right? Light, white, etc. That we're going back to Carta Blanca.
Okay, very cool.
So yeah, just to pay homage, as you were saying, you were there for the 150th year anniversary, which is right around the time that I started with Bacardi. So it was a really exciting and hectic time to start for Bacardi.
I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again.
Exciting and hectic.
Exciting and
Indeed.
hectic. Yeah, I know that feeling. I've worked with companies that have that whole culture.
Yeah.
I must admit that I was one of these guys that would scoff at the Bacardi name. Until I went to the distillery. And when I went to the distillery, it changed my whole perspective of the brand. And I encouraged people to hey, give that brand another look. And look at it, especially some of these other blends with
Sure.
an open mind, right? And, when I was there, they have this. Have you been to the distillery?
I have, yeah.
So do you know that Art Deco, the room? Well, I don't know if
She's there twice a year.
Oh, are
But
you
wouldn't
really?
know that.
Okay.
You don't know that.
Well, I don't know that because sometimes people that if they're in a sales role that they spend all their time just traveling to service clients and they never actually.
Sure.
So anyway, what I'm getting at is they have this in the tour. There's this Art Deco-ish Prohibition era style bar, and there's a bartender there that mixes up those 3 cocktails.
Yeah,
that-
it's
that I
the
mentioned.
La Floridita replica bar.
Yes. And he took questions afterwards, and I asked him, what are your thoughts about when people say, "Oh, your silver has no flavor"? He says, "Well, it's engineered to be that way." He says that particular product is not engineered to be a sipping rum. It's meant to be a mixing rum. The way that he presented his answer to me, it impressed me, and I thought, okay, so the people that are basically knocking that are the people that are expecting something else, something that it's not supposed to be.
Did you uncross your arms and quit staring him down when he gave you that answer?
Did you then take your daiquiri or your mojito and you're like, great?
No, you know what? Actually, so my wife is allergic to alcohol. She can't drink. She gets the Asian flush, right? So when we were there, they give you a couple drink tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And they serve you full cocktails because they want you to try these cocktails, not just to sip. They want you to enjoy a cocktail with their rum. So I had my drink tickets and I had her drink tickets. And that's why I was real ballsy. But we had our drinks before instead of after. So that's why I was real ballsy, like raising my hand.
Emboldened.
And this is also why Adrian's now a fan of Bacardi, too.
Yes, it is. It is. It worked.
Yeah, you know what? I'm impressed with the brand. Actually, the stuff here that you brought, so I see an aged 4-year. Mm-hmm. I see an aged, I guess I should call it ocho años. And a 10-year.
And the 10-year.
So I haven't tried the 10 or the 4. I have tried the 8.
Yeah, as most people. So the 8 was the original family blend, family reserve, and they released it out to the public in 1990s.
Okay.
These two were released in the last year, so you're not alone in being
Okay.
Yeah, that you haven't tried them. That's why I figured I'd bring them along today, right?
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
isn't there a weird rum numbering thing?
As in that people don't abide by any laws when they
Yes.
start putting
That's the
numbers
one.
on.
And we were talking about that too.
I'm going to make my own Boris 62 rum.
Exactly, right?
Right.
And that's the whole thing with people that use the Solera method, which is great. Like, nothing to knock on it, but sometimes they actually label to whatever their oldest is within it.
Oh, okay.
But I know that there's a dirty trick that a lot of them use too, where they'll throw a number on the bottle, and they won't say that it's aged to that number. It's just the name of the rum.
Exactly.
Right? So this might be a blah, blah, blah 20. It doesn't say aged 20 years. They just call it a 20.
So it's like a Chanel number 5.
Like a Chanel number 5. And it fools the buyer into thinking it's a 20-year-old rum.
It fools the unsuspecting buyer. See, we all know better, right?
But we know better, right? And I hope our
smells
listeners
nice,
know
though.
now too. Yeah. So when
Chanel
you go out there and
number five
you go and look at these
smells
bottles and you see the numbers on there, make sure you look and see that it's actually aged to that number, and it's not just the model number of that particular blend.
The number that they really like, their lucky number, right?
Yeah, like Mambo number 5.
Or, yes, exactly. That's the best.
How come
way.
it's all number 5? Chanel number
That
5.
can be your rum, okay?
Yes.
Boris's Mambo number 5 rum.
Boris's Mambo number 5.
I may buy it.
Yeah, a little bit of 2-year.
I'd drink it. I don't know if I would buy it, but I'd definitely drink it.
So there you go.
Well, I will gift it to you.
People always ask me kind of as far as cocktails and spirits go, and I'm like, okay, well, if I would pay my own money for it, then that's
There you
the benchmark for me.
Well, I tell you, when I finished that tour, they have you exit through the gift shop, just like Disneyland.
I know, strategic, right?
Strategic, totally strategic. And I was by that point, I was a total Bacardi fanboy. I was like, oh, I need to get a bar, man. Oh, look at the backpack. Oh, look at the jacket. I was like, and I'm in Puerto Rico, man. It's 90, humid. And I'm trying to figure out, and I got the bar mat. I got the big one, the big square one. It doesn't fit on my bar because it's giant.
The big square one doesn't fit on anyone's home
giant.
bar.
Right.
You actually decided to purchase this and pack it in
purchased stuff.
this is.
But I also did this. I called home to price shop some of the bottles in the gift shop, and the bottles at home were cheaper.
Oh,
Believe it or not. And I thought, wow, I'm buying it direct from the factory.
well, that's like buying something.
I get it.
Disneyland,
It's like
though.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
I get it.
The experience. It's like getting that souvenir cup.
Yeah, most
right?
people aren't gonna. They're just gonna buy it with emotion, right? They're gonna be spontaneous. And
But there are a few things at the distillery that you can get that you can't get into your stores here.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. You know what they are?
I do. So there's a 15-year sherry cask rum.
Oh, see, if I had known this, I would have probably.
Well,
brought
we
some
should
now
back.
you know
probably-
somebody. I'm your girl.
Oh,
You
there
just
you
gotta
go.
ask.
Yeah, but you can't get it here. You said.
You can't get it here. You just
So we
have to
gotta get it
taking
here.
our trip to Puerto Rico.
I know.
We should go to Puerto
wanna
Rico
go
with
back.
Jamie.
I totally want to go
Let's
back.
do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I feel like Inside the Desert Oasis could be in Puerto Rico too,
We
right?
should
That's
totally
the thing.
do
It
that.
travels anywhere
We
and
should
everywhere.
totally do that. But when I was there, I went and I saw a few other places. I went to Don Q, which I'm not going to say it the Spanish way because it looks like it says Don Q to me. But there's a special way that they say it, so I'm not going to say it that way.
Okay.
They had a tasting room in Old San Juan, which is where I actually stayed.
I love
And
Old San Juan.
It's great, isn't it? And let me divert for a second. We stayed at El Convento, which is this old it's called El Convento because it was a convent back in the day where people became nuns. And they converted it to this hotel, and the rooms where the nuns actually lived in are the hotel rooms. And the whole time I was there, I felt guilty about having sex with my wife. Because
you had sex with your wife in Puerto Rico?
No, in a convent. In an old convent.
Which is now a hotel.
Which is now a hotel. And I was thinking, oh, the ghosts of all these old nuns are watching me right now.
They were.
Right?
They were.
Wow. But anyway, so I went to Don Q, and then I went to Rondel Barrilito.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barrilito. So I know I'm saying it with my American accent, but
Did you go to La Factoria bar?
no, I didn't.
Oh, see,
those are the three
these
that
are
I
all
forget.
the reasons. Well, no, the bar in Old San Juan, La Factoria.
No, I didn't know about that.
Okay, well, this is why we all need to go back
for
to
sure.
Puerto Rico.
But you know what? It wasn't a cocktail-centric trip because my wife's allergic to alcohol.
Sure.
And we were there for our anniversary. So
Did she like dancing, though? They have a live band and salsa.
not really.
I thought she did. I thought she was Mrs. Dancer.
No, she used to be back in college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
no,
back when she used to drink.
Yes.
Yeah, she did. She drank back then. And I said to her, how is it that back then you could drink like all this shitty stuff, right? She would drink like Midori Collins and Sex on the Beach, all that crappy college drinks, you know?
Do you make Midori?
Do I make my own Midori?
No, is Midori part of
Is that a Bacardi
Midori under
product?
your umbrella?
No.
Okay, cool.
It is not.
All right, then.
So anyway,
Well, all right, well, we're going back
she's-
without your wife then, because I don't
Yeah,
want you
yeah.
having sex with her in the convent
in
next
the
to
convent,
my room.
yeah. I know.
Okay.
I don't either.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we should go back. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is wonderful, by the way. I think I've said that before already. Everything I've had so far.
Well,
Well,
yours
Adrian
is
and
the
I
only
already
one that we're
drank
done,
ours.
dude.
Yeah,
If it's
well,
so wonderful,
I
why
was
is yours still
I was
full?
being polite and listening.
So how are your daiquiris, by the way?
They're very good, actually.
Very good.
So
They're
that's
very good.
always like my kind of yardstick or like benchmark when I go to a bar because
this
it's
is
like
another
such
one.
like simple
This
ingredients,
is another
right?
one, yeah.
Between your rum choice, using fresh lime juice, and then whatever you use for your sugar. I get people like try to get like way too fancy with it, and
I agree, and it's also the balance, the proportion of those ingredients as well. It's another way to judge the bar.
Well,
For me,
I also like that it's a nice sized lime wedge and not like a wheel.
Yes.
Not that I see too
Like,
many wheels, but
True, but it's like, what do you do with the wheel, right? It just
Yeah.
smacks you in the face. You can't actually get any like citrus juice out of it.
nope,
So
just roll it away.
yeah. So if they hand you a daiquiri that's red and blended with a pineapple spear or something in it, that's another red flag, right? Because then it's the same thing. It's like, okay, if you're making a daiquiri, I didn't order, like, because there was a time in the 80s where people were blending all their daiquiris.
Right.
But frozen cocktails are coming back. Here at DAMA, you need to have the Miami Vice. It's so good.
Is
So
it good?
using
Okay.
all like fresh ingredients with
Okay.
it. Like
I'm not
I mean,
anti frozen
I-
cocktails at all.
So
I trust
it's-
DAMA. I'm just saying that if you ordered a daiquiri and you got like some kind of slushy thing,
Right. Like in
It-
Vegas or
yeah,
Bourbon
that's
Street.
made
again,
out of
that's-
all
yeah.
shelf stable ingredients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, shelf stable is a very nice way of saying.
Oh, it's cool industry term.
I know what I was gonna say. It's like an industry term. Right?
So,
I'm an ambassador. I learned how to be very PC with people.
do you have the little flags on your car? Little ambassador flags?
Oh,
Okay, so Jamie just poured us the Ocho.
the Ocho.
It's even Ocho on the bottle.
It is, which is also 8
Eight
in
eight,
English.
eight.
When I was
Yes.
in high school, some guy called me Cuatro Ocho.
Quattro
It
Ocho.
was, I guess it was 4 eyes.
Oh, is that what they say?
Maybe
That's
Cuatro
like-
Huevos Ocho, something like that.
There's the football player who calls himself Ocho Cinco,
Right.
and that's literally 8-5. It's not 85. He was naming himself after the number on his jersey.
Oh,
But 85 is 85. It's not Ocho Cinco.
this smells wonderful.
Right.
Okay, so I'm gonna
This is
I'm
like
gonna
the standby. This is like when
gonna
I
have
first
the 8
started
here.
working for the company. This would be my fallback. I'd always have like we were talking about old fashions earlier. Like I love rum old
this
fashions.
is so
It's
good.
So good.
I
with
love
me.
a rum old fashioned too.
I do too.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, this is dating back to 1862. This was one of the original recipes, but it was only available to the family. It was like for like you're getting married or you're having a baby or it's like your quinceañera.
Now they did a special blend during their 150th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get to try that?
I did. So that's actually what you guys had in your glass right here.
Oh.
So that's the Bacardi Heritage. So that's like when we went back to sometimes we call it 1909 because that's the label that we put on the bottle itself. It's at 44.5%, which is the original ABV that it was in 1862.
Wow.
There was this whole movie about how that came together.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the blenders that they brought together and the rums that they aged and
we got
everything
people
in
out of
preparation for that.
retirement for
It was
a big-
impressive. Yeah, it was a big deal.
It was an interesting thing because they were working on a few different projects, and one of them was another line named after our founder Facundo. So that one has 4 expressions. The youngest of it being a white rum, our Neo, which is between 1 and 8 years. So it's actually the oldest white rum on the market.
Okay.
And then we have a true 10-year rum, meaning that we always age and then blend. This has been blended and then aged. So it's just put into the cask and let the Caribbean sun take its course. And after 10 years, crack it open and see what you have.
Right.
So very different than the typical Bacardi way of doing things. And then the other is between 7 and 23. That's finished in Pedro Jimenez sherry cask. And the one beyond that is between 16 and 23 years. So super old, small amounts of that 23 for sure, but finished in an XO cognac cask. So they were working on this project, but had, the Bacardi family had opened up their aging facility in Bermuda to our current master distiller and some of our master distillers from previous generations and let them pick out, basically go through this library, the family stocks and barrels, and create these blends. So the Facundo line just wasn't ready in time for the 150th year anniversary, but they were also working on this heritage bottling, which was ready. And so, yeah, you've seen stories on both, I believe.
Did they have that for sale in the gift shop after that time, or was that just for people in the family?
So the Facundo line, so they did a really limited release. You can still find it in some places here in Los Angeles. It's available in the gift store as well. But it was only opened up to San Francisco, Los Angeles, Miami, and New York.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
That works for me.
I mean, we're covered, so.
Awesome.
It's a good thing about living in LA, right?
And we have a connection.
Yeah.
Right.
You know
we're
someone.
connected somewhere.
The connection. Dan Long.
What? No. Yes, but no.
I was so furious when you took this job. I was just like, no! But I'm so happy for you at the same time. Still
now
happy.
we can go to Puerto Rico.
We can go to
Come
Puerto
on,
Rico
there's other
now.
things that we can do.
Yes. Oh, yes. Exactly.
Yeah,
Plus, I
I'm
bring
down
you
for
to
that.
the fun, cool bars like DAMA
always
here.
do. You
Well,
always do.
we didn't know about this bar until you brought it up.
Yeah.
I
So,
didn't know that Pablo and Steve had done this.
yeah, so
Yes,
this is
so
super cool.
He's been working on this for a long time. It's really cool to do a Latin-inspired, because there are other place that's been open now for, I want to say 5 or 6 years, Scopa Italian Roots over in Venice.
And Pablo was telling me about that before you came.
And that's where Old Lightning is
That's
in the
where
back.
Old Lightning is in the back. And so they've been working on this project in the lease, and obviously through permitting, because most of this has been warehouse populated, it was a big deal to get a liquor license in here and get the proper permitting.
Yeah.
So it was a very lengthy process.
Do they have a 47 or 48 here? Are they serving food?
They serve food.
They serve
Food's
food,
really good.
Yeah, yeah. It looks amazing.
Latin-inspired food, and then tropical cocktails.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't all have to be tiki-based. As long as it's fun-based,
Exactly.
then
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
wonderful.
I like that.
Yeah.
Fun-based.
Yes.
Fun-based, yeah, because that's what life's
That's
all
an
about.
industry term, right? Fun-based.
It is now.
That's what life's all about. We were talking about this earlier. I brought up this whole movement about the craft beer industry that, in the past 20 years or so have really taken off. And you have people that have become real snobbish about that whole thing. And it seems like no matter what brewery they go to, they just can't enjoy themselves. They have to criticize.
They're even calling themselves beer sommeliers, too. I don't know.
Yeah, and they have to criticize everything about whatever it is that they're drinking, the color, the taste, the whatever it is, right? And I don't want to be one of those guys with the craft cocktail movement. Adjust your expectations, what I always say, right? If I'm going to go to TGI Fridays with my family, I'm not going to expect some kind of crafted thing and scoff if I don't get it. But people do, And I think
And they should go somewhere else.
Yeah, you gotta go
they
somewhere
have to
else.
appreciate the
and it's just me, like, again, just reinforcing this whole thing is it's got to be fun, right? If you're not enjoying yourself, dude, like, you're doing something wrong. Like, I get it. Like, if you really get into this whole thing as a hobby and you start educating yourself about rums or these other spirits, and you really want to be somebody that knows what you're drinking, if it's going to take you down a couple notches with your enjoyment by going anywhere else in the world, maybe it's not the right.
Just stay inside.
Yeah.
Just have your alcohol delivered and don't come out.
That's what home entertainment is for, right?
That's what home, same. I feel the same way.
And, being a bartender for so many years, that's like the biggest thing is like, I can teach anybody how to make a cocktail for sure.
Yeah,
it's a recipe and it's a flavor profile, but I can't teach you how to be a hospitable and welcoming and warm, engaging person.
Yeah.
Like, that's on you, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the biggest thing. And now, like, spending so much time on the other side, like in a bar stool, like watching and like taking in cocktails from other people. That's the biggest thing I notice is sometimes I could have like the most like amazing, like cerebral cocktail. But if I've had like really crappy service, like I am not going there again. And I can't wait to like ask for my check and get out and move on to the next place.
Yes, please.
And vice versa. If the cocktails are subpar but the service is excellent, you're more forgiving about those cocktails,
exactly.
right?
Because you've had a good time. And the whole thing about like, why are you in a bar? It's like you want to be around other people. You want to have a good time.
Yeah.
You want to let loose.
I just don't want to go to TGI Fridays with you and your family.
I haven't been to TGI Fridays in probably 20 years, so I think you're safe there. Yeah. And I don't go to those places because they all have the same menu. TGI Fridays, Chili's, Applebee's, they all have the same. They all have the blooming onion.
Right.
They all have the nachos. They all have the fish and chips.
It's all stuff I can't eat anymore. It looks like I can.
You know
but I
what's
can't.
crazy though? Places like that are now like kind of cocktail trends are what, like 5-8 years behind in like chain restaurants.
Yeah.
But they're all now like putting like Negronis on menus.
Right.
And,
I think
like,
Applebee's
old
has a zombie right
fashions on
now.
menus. Yeah.
Yeah, but the
They're-
zombies got blue curacao.
I
in
know,
it.
but still, it's just like, stop it.
They're not proper
They're
ones.
not proper.
Just serve your
but
Miller Lite.
they're at least getting into a direction, right? Like I think almost gone are the 20-page martini, and I put air quotes around it, martini menu. Like, what is that?
Right.
So Appletinis are a thing of the past?
No, I don't think
Or
we're going that
chocolate
far. I
martinis.
still see that like squeeze bottle of
But
chocolate.
I know
in
what
bars,
Jamie's
but-
getting
Oh
at.
my God.
Do you remember, Boris, when we did the crawl that what crawl was it? Is it the Pina Colada crawl that we did?
Yes.
We ended up at King's Hawaiian, and this guy says,
Oh.
"I'm sorry, guys,
No.
they had us throw all
No,
our
it
blenders
wasn't
away."
King's Hawaiian. It was King's Fish House.
King's Fish House.
Yes.
Fish House. The guy says, "I'm sorry, guys, they had us throw all our blenders away. They want us to do this whole craft cocktail thing now. So I'm going to make you a pina colada, but it's not going to be blended." We're like, fine. So he goes away for a little bit, comes back after a few minutes, and he hands out 4 pina coladas that were handshaken, made in a craft cocktail style.
Mhm.
Probably the best pina colada I ever had.
Yeah.
Really?
Would you
So-
say?
Yes.
Okay, so right now, as a bartender and ambassador, I see this whole movement of like the pina colada like being embraced by craft bars and being redone in a craft way. Like there's this bar in London called Coupette, and they have a champagne pina colada.
Champagne.
It is one of the best things I've ever
It's good.
had
Really?
in my
'Cause
life.
I'm making
And
a face.
So
I'm
now we got to go to London.
We're on a tour now.
Right
We're like now launching the world tour.
I renewed my passport last year for this reason.
So you knew. It's like you knew this was
I
going to
knew.
happen, Boris.
Okay, so let's say, hypothetically, let's say we go to London to try this champagne pina colada. Am I tapping out at 3? And then I'm done, and you guys are like, "Come on, Boris, we're in London. You're not here every day."
Boris, I think you can go further than 3. I've drank with you before, and
gonna
I've seen
say
you in my bar.
3?
You
I
don't give
don't
yourself
think-
enough credit
Can
over
you get
here.
us into like Mahiki? Is that still a thing?
It
I know it was a
is,
thing
yeah.
like 14 years ago.
It's
Is
still
this-
a thing.
Okay, cool.
Places like that don't go away.
Okay. All right, cool.
So how many places have you been around the world?
Oh man, too many to count. I don't know. I spend a lot of my time at where our distilleries are, so I get to see a lot of the big cities like Paris and Milan.
So I
and
feel stupid about asking that question if you've been to the distillery in Puerto Rico.
No, but that's a nice
No,
base.
it's a valid
and
question.
Your,
Okay,
your,
well, so
and your
here's-
foundation
here's
was
where I'm
great.
coming
But I
from,
got
like-
into this racket because I wanted to travel and I wanted to go to
Oh,
these places
see?
and get behind,
Smart.
spending so many years as a bartender, like having everything at my fingertips.
Yeah.
I really wanted to like kind of take that next step in my career and actually get behind the bottle and like spend time at the distilleries, spend time with the master blenders, and get to jump on a plane and travel. When I was running bar programs, I was like 6 days a week in my program. I couldn't even
in the bar.
I couldn't even get to other people's bars.
You couldn't. I mean, you would have events at your bar because you couldn't go anywhere else.
Exactly.
That's like a total 180 degrees. That's completely different. Wow.
But there's plenty of places I still want to go to.
But you were coming up with a new menu, every quarter.
Always.
Yeah.
Yes.
And everything was always delicious. The Millionaire, delicious.
Yeah.
Are you still mixing at all anywhere?
No, only like for a hobby, and as we like come out with new expressions, just kind of like R&D for the
Would you
brands.
say that it's a skill that gets rusty? Like if you step away for a little bit?
Definitely. Well, I wouldn't say it gets rusty. It sort of is like that adage, like riding a bike, right? You like get back on, you're back into it. But there's definitely new trends that I see in bars that like I'm just not as privy to. Like right now, everyone is like washing every spirit with coconut, or now like the young bartenders, like they're like, oh, okay, do you have a Spinzall? As if everyone just has a Spinzall in their back pocket.
I'm starting to see
and
that. Yeah.
I don't come from that era.
That's interesting that you say that you're not privy to, but when you're running a bar program and you're stuck inside of the same bar 6 days a week,
sure,
I would think that you'd be more privy to what's happening outside of that bar because you're out and about seeing what's happening throughout the industry. You're going to all these other different places.
You're not always out and about. You're like in your own program and in your own head, and now.
But I mean, now that you're not behind the bar.
Oh, now that I'm not behind the bar. So I see all the trends, but I'm not like in the bar actually R&Ding and perfecting these things. So I'm very aware of them, but I haven't myself
but you haven't
been able to perfect them.
I got you. All right. Right.
So, and that was like, as a bartender, like I said, kind of getting to grow up in the LA craft cocktail movement of things. I got to team up with a number of amazing chefs that taught me a lot on the molecular side, a lot on kind of just like different flavor pairings, and like really brought that into my craft as a bartender.
That was another thing too. Like when I would go see her at Drago Centro, the bar food menu was like ridiculously priced, like affordable and fun and delicious. Like there was a plate of olives that was wonderful. There was meatballs that were wonderful. Everything was always good and cool.
So let me ask you this, Jaymee. So when you would pair cocktails to different dishes, which is assuming that's what we're talking about,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
So what does it take to do that? How much time does it take to come up with a menu?
It really depends, because sometimes it's the cocktail that comes first and then trying to find a dish that it pairs with, and sometimes it's like really like taking the dish and like being able to balance those flavors, so either going in a completely opposite direction to it or going with like flavors that complement and that kind of exemplify it. So there's some like, I would walk around with like a notebook with cocktails that were kind of half done for a matter of months to a matter of years, and finding kind of that perfect opportunity to like release it. So it's an ongoing process. It's not, creativity on demand is one of the hardest things to do, right?
That's interesting. Cocktails that are half done, like you already know what direction you're going
like
with
song.
this. But that's awesome.
So you just walk around with this journal.
I've never thought about that cocktails would, you have something in mind and you're working on it right now, but it's not done.
I do that all. I have like rum and ice, and it's half done. I just need to finish.
just your glass of rum, or
The reason why I ask this is because I've always wanted to do an episode inside the Desert Oasis Room where I do some kind of, maybe a trio of food dishes and pair them with cocktails. Now, I'm not a practicing bartender. I'm a home bartender. I'm somebody that I'll use certain cocktail ratios. Like they call it the golden ratio I use all the time for creating cocktails. It's a kind of a no-fail.
But he gets his ice from Sonic, so it's the cool
I do.
ice.
the cool pellet ice.
I get the pellet ice. I do that. But I always thought it'd be fun to do an episode like that. But then it makes me think now, like maybe it's a little ambitious to just do that one day.
It'd be fun
I'd have to plan
if we
for
did it,
right?
and we all had like the same dish, and like Boris, yourself, and I all create a cocktail with it and see.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
Who's worse?
And
Because
say, this
here's the thing.
This is what I think pairs good with this dish.
You know what that would be a perfect episode for? The prime rib guy.
The prime rib guy.
The prime rib guy.
That's one of those guys. Same talking
That's
about
like
certain
saying like the
cocktails.
sausage king of like Chicago.
The sausage
Like,
king of
Guys,
Chicago.
it's like, I only eat prime rib. So I won't drink that.
I've mentioned this in previous episodes. So you and I talked about this earlier, where you adjust your expectations so that you're not disappointed wherever it is that you go, right? Now, there's people that when they go somewhere, they only want aged spirits. They only want craft cocktails. And then if you go, like the example I used, if you go to TGI Fridays or you go to Chili's or you go to a bar in Mexico because you're on a spring break or a honeymoon or vacation or whatever, and you don't get those things, you get disappointed. And the first thing you do is criticize them. And you say, oh, my God, they used this kind of rum. They used
the first thing they do is write a Yelp review.
Yes,
the first thing they do is write up review. And I've said to Boris,
I have
or
a
I've
bunch
actually-
of unfinished Yelp reviews.
not just to Boris, but I've said this in previous episodes, that's like somebody that says, I only eat prime rib. That's the prime rib guy. I only eat filet mignon. But you know what? Sometimes a carne asada burrito hits the spot.
Exactly.
Sometimes a double-double hits the spot.
What was the time?
It doesn't have to always be strip steak. It
Or
doesn't
Kobe
always have to be
beef.
lobster. It doesn't always have to be Kobe beef, right? You know, and people get that when I use the food example. But
Right.
when the drink example comes along, they turn into that, oh, I only drink blah, blah, blah.
I become that when it becomes like soju drinks.
Well,
when they don't have
look.
a full liquor license.
Look,
What soju drinks are you having?
yeah, we're not going to name the name, but well, I'll tell you after the
I'll try
microphones are off.
them. If I'm there and that's what they got, I'll give it a shot.
But that's like saying, you know, I'm going to have the steak and shrimp, and then they throw crawfish in there instead of shrimp.
Right.
Or whatever.
Right.
Right. I don't know. That'd be a bad example.
You know what? I'll go to beer.
No, I agree with you.
over
I think
soju.
sometimes people are very rigid about their cocktails. Like they feel like it defines them, and they feel like
It
if they
just-
veer off, like if they started with rum, they're like, oh, well, I can't possibly go to tequila. That gives me a hangover.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
no, it's actually the amount that you consume. But
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
you know, whatever.
Right.
It's like, you know.
But yeah, I bet you the prime rib guy thinks that like he's only a wine guy with prime rib too. So this is gonna be super exciting to
pork
do
guy.
cocktails.
Or
Well,
Scotch guy.
So, just so that Jamie knows, the prime rib guy is me. It's just this the obnoxious
You're the
guy.
prime rib guy.
No, well,
so
I'm not-
you're like asking for a friend.
I'm
Is this
not-
what's
right.
happening right now?
It's just the obnoxious voice that Boris likes to call the prime rib guy. So when he says, "Oh, I hope the prime rib guy makes an appearance on the next episode." Well, I said he can.
Well,
He needs to.
but there's also the other version of the prime rib guy where he waits 20 minutes for the end cut. And it's like, we're 3/4 done over here, dude.
Right.
Just let the end cut go.
Right. Yeah,
People like what they like.
I know they do, but at Circus, let it go.
Yeah. So there you go.
But yeah, no, I mean, like, to speak more on it, like, pairing cocktails with food is really difficult. People think that you can just, like, manipulate
Yeah.
it, but, like, things that are a little bit more nuanced, like wine and, like, a little gentler in flavor are much easier. But sometimes people try to, like, throw everything at your palate with the cocktail as well as with the food, and it's quite overwhelming. It's exhausting. It's, like, kind of like, I don't know, like, flavor Olympics going on here.
What
Okay.
about cocktails and pie?
And pie?
Pie.
You might be a pioneer on that. You might be a pioneer, Boris.
Thank you. Like a banana daiquiri and a banana cream pie, or a pina colada.
Well, that's like what I was saying earlier. You can kind of go same with it, right? And like
Yes.
kind of like highlight and enhance the flavor profile, or you can go in an opposite direction with things where it does the same but in a very different way.
Yeah.
So, I actually thought you said like pot, and like I'm like,
Oh no, I'm not.
I'm like, wow, okay, I know we're in like LA and like,
I'm
people
not
are advocating for like.
I am not a weed guy.
Yeah, I know. Neither am I, but it's like created this whole.
Not that
that's
there's anything
that's
wrong
a
with
different
that,
show.
you know.
That's a different show. That's right. That's right.
We just lost 3/4 of your audience. Sorry.
If you have a product, service, or event that you'd like to bring attention to, we can help. This podcast reaches thousands of listeners in over 100 countries every week. Imagine hearing your ad in this spot just like you're hearing this one right now. Sponsor an episode and get the exposure you deserve. For more information, go to desertoasisroom.com and click on Services. This podcast is brought to you in part by the Tiki Tea, a family-owned and operated tropical drink bar in Los Angeles, California. Come get their house specialty, the Raised Mistake, for only $6 on Wednesdays until 9 p.m. For more information, check out their website, tiki-ti.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Steadfast Pomade, a strong-holding, medium-bodied styling product for men and women, which leaves your hair looking slick, neat, and shiny with a clean, fresh scent. Order yours today at steadfastpomade.com.
Now, Boris told me that I need to know the story about how you became a bartender.
Oh, okay.
Because you told me and Mark, and I loved it.
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting. I don't know, maybe, kind of, sort of. But yeah, so I, as anyone else in my age bracket, we went to undergrad school because that's what we had to do.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't go to undergrad and get that degree,
Mom
which
and
is
Dad,
a pedigree, then you were just going to be lost for the rest of your life. So being an overachiever, I decided to do undergrad in 3 years. I went to a private undergrad school.
My son's doing that
I got
right
a double
now.
major, dance and business, because I'm a crazy person.
Yeah.
And then I decided to study for my LSAT and go to law school. So I started law
Wow.
school at age 20.
Wow.
And I thought I was like the shit. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to law school.
you know
I'm going to
what?
be an entertainment
Hey,
attorney.
but you
It's
know
going
what?
to be amazing.
I was going to say you were the shit. If you finished undergrad in 3 years and then you were in law school by the time you're 20, you were the shit.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the biggest thing is, like, I would look around, like, my classroom, because you go through law school with the same, like, 120 people through each course. And I was like, oh my God, are these
Yeah.
people going to be my peers for the rest
Yeah.
of my life? Oh, geez. Like, this is going to be a long haul.
Yeah.
This is this is not the fun side of things. Definitely not. But I wanted to do entertainment law.
And just so you know, my wife's an attorney, and she hates her job. She hates it. She hates being an attorney. And the same thing, like, I think that they did like a 20-year reunion with all the people that she went to law school with.
Sure.
And I would say, like, out of all of them, I think only 2 of them she's friends with, and the rest
The
of them,
happy people are the
she's like,
non-practitioners.
oh, there you go. Well, some of them actually, they went into the field, and within a couple years, they left it.
That's what I mean. I have, like, one of my friends I was really close with that ended up finishing law school. She now works, like, for Gucci as sort of like the similar job to mine, but in the fashion side of things.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, yay to racking up that debt and
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
something else that you
yeah.
love. But yeah, I wanted to still give it a fair fight and things. So I worked as a contract administrator for Weinstein Company, Miramax. They were kind of in between things at the time. I know. That is like a dirty word these days, especially like in
Was
LA.
anything creepy happen?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I was a very 22-year-old low level contract administrator. Like, I was working in the basement. People called me if they were owed money, if
Yeah, but
their contract isn't right, if all of a sudden on
if
their
you knew
writer
you were
they
down there,
yeah.
22-year-old, if you knew you were down there.
Right? No, I know. This now sounds like
So were you almost doing collections?
I was the person that someone would call because they had in their writer that they wanted the green M&Ms sorted out, and all of a
Right.
sudden they
Right.
weren't sorted out, and the world was coming to an end because
I wanted
of
sweet
said
pickles,
matter.
Jamie, not
I
dill
know.
pickles.
Yeah,
You were a
I know-
fixer.
Yeah,
Which, by the way,
life altering matters that I was
I have
handling for
no
sure.
time for the person who prefers sweet pickles over dill pickles. It's
I
Sweet
so-
pickles are not
like
a
sweet
thing,
pickles.
right?
I like
No.
sweet pickles,
You're
but I
right.
don't really eat pickles. So
Okay,
when
so you don't count because you're
Yeah.
not a pickle
Who are
person.
no, I'm not a
so-
pickle person. I don't really care.
No time for prime rib
Well,
guy.
so because I'm
I'm
addicted
Korean,
to sugar.
so I love pickled foods.
pickles.
See?
Pickles is.
I'm
fun.
addicted to
Pickled
sugar,
is
so
wonderful.
that's why I drink cocktails.
Well, you're such a sweet guy.
Well, there you go. Thank you. So when I have to go for the pickle, I go for the sweet one.
Wow.
Like when I
So-
when I buy relish at the grocery store, do I
So-
want the sweet relish? I say, yeah, I'll take the sweet
Wait,
relish.
is there other relish? There's all relishes.
There
sweet.
is
Come on.
other relish. No, there's regular relish and
What
then
kind
there's
is
sweet
at the
relish.
Costco in the machine
I don't
in the
know.
relish gun?
I don't know. But truth be told, I can't tell the difference really.
Okay.
Yeah, they
But
taste
still.
the same. to me.
Relish is relish.
TGI Fridays, sweet pickles, and honeymoons in Mexico. I don't know who you are, man.
So anyway, enough of pickle talk.
So,
Jamie was telling us.
yes.
so I was still trying to drive home being an attorney, but hated it still.
Did you actually finish law school and go into that field?
No, I did 2 years.
Okay.
So I racked up a considerable amount of debt and then decided to not
Still
do it.
top of her class, bailing
Well,
after 2 years.
You're ahead of the game if you stop after 2 years because
True.
there's people that will go and do the whole thing because they've already gone that far and feel like, well, I can't turn back now. and then they get stuck in this rut, and they start doing this thing
think
for a
I
living
was
that
still
they hate.
young too, so
Yeah,
the
yeah.
world was my oyster per se, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I started working. I wanted to get more on a creative side, so I started working in celebrity PR, celebrity like talent management. I worked for Britney Spears' manager. For that was interesting.
Was she toxic?
We've all seen like
I
she's in a better place now, right? I think we may have lost more of your listeners just in this like one comment.
Now, when you worked for her, was she not a girl but not yet a woman? These are her songs.
These are
You guys
her
are missing it.
songs.
You're missing it,
wow,
Boris.
I'm happily missing it.
Who
I
knew
did like
that? You were
Toxic, though. I
so
did like
dialed
Toxic.
into these.
Well, look, I must admit, I had a physical crush on her. Oh, she was a train wreck.
I preferred Christina Aguilera.
No, not me.
Okay. well,
Because Christina Aguilera had to do the staircase of tonal vocals, like that drove me crazy.
Okay.
Like, okay, I get it. You can sing. Do you have
Doesn't
to?
matter.
Like,
They're
do
all doing
every
amazing
scale?
dance videos and not wearing clothes. So
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so I digress.
anyway,
Okay, so back to
so
Lost.
back in the era.
You're moving through the
So
management.
moving through the madness of like the entertainment industry in LA, then I started working as a fashion stylist because I was working with a lot of the celebrity clients. Wanted to do that I was going in that like range of wanting to like make my passion a career, right? Isn't that what we all want to do? Like we don't want to actually feel like we're working and get paid for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's why
I
everybody
started,
buys lottery tickets. Everyone wants to quit their job.
I know. I missed out buying the lottery ticket recently with the huge.
Yeah, I didn't win. You wouldn't have won. I don't even know who won.
Someone in South Carolina.
Yeah, see.
It's always someone from like middle America, right?
Right.
Anyhow, we digress again. So yeah, I started working as a fashion stylist, and like via that, I was making like no money. Like I was working like freelance, making no money. Like I would take me like 90 days to get paid. Sometimes, rent needed to be paid in every 60 days.
Yeah, you need to get paid.
Right?
Yeah.
What,
So-
you're every 60 days.
30 days.
I want to
30
live.
days.
I want to live in your building.
Sorry, bad with math. You know,
30
bad with
days.
math.
Me too. I'm the worst.
So I started working nights at Hollywood nightclubs doing bottle service, making like a ton of money because it was like still like when things like really were in the high life of nightclubs. And then I worked at Bar Momont, which was kind of like a little bit of a, I don't know. I kind of like from being around so many people doing bottle service and being like 5 deep and being super crazy. Like I started working there and I worked in the service well there.
Which is so cool.
So the service well was not like the service well in like your main bar. It was in the kitchen, like on the second floor with a dumbwaiter. So I had my whole bar
Oh, nice.
to myself
How cool is
in
that?
the kitchen with a dumbwaiter with a little button. So I would make my cocktails, ring the button, a ticket would pop up and I would make the next order.
Nice.
It was great. I loved it for so long because, well, not for so long. For so long, I mean, I was still pretty young. So for
But
so long
that's
was
like
a couple of months.
Doing,
But-
yeah, without having to interface with anybody. It's like,
But she's in there
Also-
like sweating also.
yeah, but you
But
don't have to
it gave me the
interface with
opportunity
anybody.
to kind of like, play around with things
Yeah.
and like, my Spanish, my kitchen Spanish got really, really good.
Got really
too.
good. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I did that and then had started working at more, a little bit more like cocktail facing programs. I started engaging with people once again.
Right.
So that was really exciting for me to work with different chefs and get like more creative with that. And eventually like one thing eclipsed the other. It wasn't like I made an active decision, like I'm going to stop being a fashion stylist and start being a bartender.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that happened in the bar scene was that like all of a sudden bartenders were being treated kind of like celebrity chefs to an extent,
Yeah.
right? So we would get these like publicists like requests like, okay, cool. So 4th of July is coming up. Like what are your favorite like grilled cocktails and this and that.
Right.
So I got a lot of like amazing press and, people would come in because they wanted my cocktails, which is
Yeah.
something that like before that, like when I was still working in nightclubs, people would come in and be like, oh, so I mean like, or do you think about going to college? Like, do you think like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like people kind of like have this dialogue with you and you're like, okay, I probably have a degree that exceeds you, but that's okay.
Right. I went to law school, bitch.
Thank you for your vapid
what you're saying
concern.
is illegal. Technically, what you're doing is illegal.
That's pretty cool.
So
That's an interesting story.
It's been a really great time. And like now the job that I work in, like when I had started bartending, like these jobs as ambassadors didn't exist because like people didn't really care what was in their glass as much. People didn't care. Like people weren't having the home bars that were to a degree that they have now. Not everybody was Mark Holt having like every spirit under the sun and like inviting bartenders from the top bars in the U.S. to come and guest bartend, you know? People, like normal people were not living that life. But now, like, it's like I get my Crate and Barrel catalog in the mail and it has like mixing glasses and spoons. Like people are stirring cocktails on a bar cart at home.
I'm getting a skull spoon in my Facebook feed.
See, that's creepy. We can have a whole nother discussion about like social media, but it's like it's so weird. I feel like it knows me, and it's like it does in a really creepy manner.
Well, it's a different era.
But
I mean,
that's changed bartending too, for good or bad. But now, like, there's so much like based into bartenders like posting their cocktails online and doing things. Like I talked a little bit about like my career kind of jumped up through doing like either like magazine edits and things like that, or just getting some publicity. So
now, do you reveal, like, if you do, let's say you do a recipe for a magazine, do you give the full recipe? Because I've seen some recipes online that I know are like
there's something missing. Yeah,
I do, because I feel like that's very false to give someone, like, you're setting them up for failure, right? If you don't give them the full recipe,
right?
So it's really like, you know,
well,
here's
good for you. Thank you.
You're welcome. But there's a lot of like kind of like nuance into how you're creating the cocktail.
And there's
too.
also you're right. There's that, but then there's also like when you so they're not gonna get the exact drink because of that nuance. But when you release something with your name on it, that's a big deal too, because you know it's got your name on it.
You know, but there's a lot of hacks. I mean, you know, and I don't mean hacky people, but like a lot of people.
No, I know
like
what you mean by hacks.
Reverse engineering or this and that,
sure.
and it's easy to get caught up in that, and then you're like, this isn't the drink at all. So why did I waste?
I try to make like recipes that I pull offline, like for like cooking recipes, like during my free time, which isn't vast, but during my free time, because I find it very cathartic.
Yeah.
But my how my dish never turns out exactly how the picture is.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
And I'm gonna venture to say that my Emerald Lagasse like recipe, that like he makes it way better than I do.
Yeah.
So there's always that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so Jaymee just poured us a 10.
The DACE.
The DACE. So that's how you're supposed to say it now, the DACE, right?
DACE.
Okay.
So this is kind of the heart of it. It's like between 10 and 12 years. There's a little bit of older in it. There's always some younger, because with barrel aging, like obviously like you want to get all those amazing compounds due to wood and liquor contact, right? So you want to get those like vanilla notes and those toasty, nutty, woody notes. Sorry, we've had too much rum. But you sometimes
I like woody oats.
But you sometimes lose or some of those like green grassy notes. So that's why we still blend in some of the younger rum to kind of like retain some of those like grassy, banana, like kind of, you know, fresh notes to it as well.
That works.
Very nice.
So,
all right, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I could start my day with that
So,
every day.
I could pour this over ice cream
Or cereal.
right now. Or cereal.
Remember, he's starting his day with this.
Over dry oats.
That's right. Over dry oats.
Over dry oats. So yeah, now like, you know, like fast forward to, so when they released Bacardi 8 out to the public in like 1995, like people weren't like really like thinking that sipping rum was a thing.
Well, at that time, it wasn't a thing.
No.
I mean, at that time, 1985, you said?
95.
Oh, 95. It was just probably getting started, I would say.
95,
people are still drinking like Sex on the Beach and like
I was
screwdrivers.
Mr. Vodka
Like,
Cranberry.
In 95,
I was Mr. Seabreeze in 95.
I was still hitting the clubs out in Hollywood and drinking whatever
people
they...
were drinking terrible things that looked like mouthwash.
Yes.
Yeah.
And tasted like mouthwash
Yes.
on occasion. Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, like, because, you know, I started drinking in the 80s because of my age. And so, like, by the time the mid-90s rolled around, I was embarrassed about what I drank in the 80s. So I think that at that time, what the Groglog was coming out, and so people were starting to experiment.
Late 90s.
Yeah, it was late 90s. Yeah. But yeah, 95, I think I was still in the clubs in
I was
Hollywood.
still Vodka Cranberry, still, you know, Captain and Coke.
Yeah.
Still, and I still like Greyhounds.
I was
but
drinking
a Greyhound guy.
Kamikazes and Yeah, and Sex
And
on the
also,
Beach.
you know,
But you
Heinekens
probably
or
were not drinking
Coronas.
those with like fresh grapefruit juice, were you?
No. I was drinking it with, Ocean Spray or whoever.
Those
Whatever
lovely
they're-
little
whatever
cans
they're
that are
using.
kind of that like
Mix.
pale, like
They taste old to begin with.
yeah.
Yeah, this is good.
I don't think they sell that anymore. And then he opens it. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Out of
going
these,
in.
which is your favorite? Out
My
of the 4, the
favorite-
8, and the 10.
my favorite is always the 8.
I was going to say, I still like the 8 out of all of them.
I like it because at 8 years you get like those baking spice notes. It's like kind of
Yeah,
really like
yeah.
creamy and fat and like
Yeah.
just it's comforting. It's like kind of that warm like blanket that wraps around you.
I agree with everything that you just said.
Yeah.
But I'm still loving this guy, too.
But this
I
is
like
still
them
good.
all. I think I think the 4 like this makes an amazing daiquiri. I think the 10 is like best enjoyed with a cigar and a campfire.
Oh, there you go. That's what this flavor is.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Do they sell cigars at the Puerto Rico distillery?
We do.
Are they like soaked in Bacardi like the Maker's Mark does?
Do they
Or
do that?
They send you like if you
So
join their club.
they do have some that are the Bacardi. They've changed it over the years. They had it with Bacardi Solera, but I think they're now doing it with the expression that I told you, the 15-year that's been aged in sherry cask. They're doing the gum
Oh.
with that. So
Can you get any of those here? Do I have to go to Puerto Rico to get one?
We're going to Puerto
Going,
Rico, Andrew.
come on.
We decided that.
after this, you know how
Well,
many
just
like
because she said it,
think
I
your
was like,
phone is
oh, you
probably
know what? I
going off
want one right
Do you
now.
know how many text messages you have like when you go to Puerto Rico? Bring me back some of those.
People are texting me. If they are texting me about Puerto Rico, it's not for me to bring stuff back. It's for them to join us.
Yeah.
It's
Ah.
for, hey, can we get another seat for myself?
They're
Is this
not-
why you put your phone on
I
airplane mode
have-
when we started
Right,
this?
right.
I have I have veto approval.
Veto approval, yeah.
Is that a
yeah.
thing? Veto approval? I don't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
know anymore.
That's an oxymoron, right? That's like jumbo
I have
shrimp.
final say on who gets to come.
Veto approval. I like that. Yeah, this is good.
Does Bacardi have their own plane?
We don't yet.
No. Okay. Yet.
I would have known.
Oh,
this,
come on. The
like,
Backstreet Boys have their own plane. It was in their video.
You are Mr. 90s. Britney
Well, I
Spears,
secretly
TGI
wanted to be.
Fridays.
You know when people
It's
say,
like modern day, like VH1, like pop up.
Yes,
What they doing here,
"What's your
right?
guilty
Classic
pleasure?"
closet over
In the
there.
'90s, I secretly wanted to be in a boy band because they had the hair and they all dressed nicely
So do you,
and they
Dracula.
and they
I would
and
know
they,
your
I know, I feel
haircut.
like-
and they got all the girls. Right?
You could start the boy band now. I mean,
Yeah, it would
Yes.
be
is
more
it
than a man
NSYNC?
band. It
NSYNC
would
is,
be
like,
old man
back
band.
together, right? And doing
Yeah,
stuff.
are
that,
they?
Who
Yeah,
is?
Oh.
NSYNC.
Uh,
Are they really?
Wow.
Is it NSYNC?
Oh.
Or, no,
Joey
sorry,
Fa-
Backstreet Boys.
Oh, yeah,
I'm like-
Backstreet Boys.
Joey
Yeah,
Backstreet
yeah,
Boys,
they're back
yeah.
Hair
together.
plugs.
Boys to Men are back together too.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
Color Me Bad made a little effort, but then they couldn't
Effort.
get all of them. I mean, like the lead singer had another
I liked Color Me Bad.
issue with the band, and
Let it go. Do you want to pay your rent or not?
no, I think that he has a drinking problem or something like that. I could be wrong. I mean, like
He's
I
drinking
don't want to throw that
mudslides
out
at
there,
TGI Fridays. That's the
That's
problem.
the drinking problem right there.
but- yeah. But I know that when they split up, it was because there was all that infighting, and I think someone had a drinking problem, another one found Jesus, or two of them found Jesus.
Were you a VJ?
No, I mean, like, it was my guilty pleasure.
But this is probably like every story to every like group, right?
Yes,
One finds
yes.
Jesus, one has a drinking problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes that person is the same person, but
Well, what happens is they go on these things that are life changing, and it's not necessarily life changing for a positive thing. You know,
Positive
it's like,
for them.
well, not they. You think it's positive from the outside, as a person is viewing it from the outside. For them, it turns their lives upside down, and they can't handle it. You know, and I know that one of the things that I read about the lead singer from Color Me Bad is he became an alcoholic because he would drink before he'd go on stage to calm his nerves.
Oh.
He had like extreme stage fright, and his alcoholism took over.
Now,
It became
okay,
a problem for the band.
Not to sidetrack,
that's
but
like self-medicating. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was reading about Jackie Wilson a couple weeks ago because I like Jackie Wilson, or I liked him, whatever, and I didn't know that his whole thing was he like took like salt supplements.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he sweat more on stage because he thought it was the women loved it.
Wait,
But
Jackie
doesn't like
Wilson.
if you take salt, doesn't it like retain water?
He was
Like-
Yeah,
taking
that's what I
something that
thought.
made him sweat more,
All right.
and then he had a coma, and died in 1984. It was just like, wait, I didn't know any of this, and I felt bad, but that was his thing, Mr. Sweating on Stage, and it ended up killing him.
Wow. Now, what happened
I
to
killed the
Marvin Berry?
podcast.
What happened to Marvin Berry?
Which one's Marvin Berry?
This is your cousin Marvin. Chuck, this is your cousin Marvin.
He did
Okay,
good.
bad joke,
He
bad
appeared
joke.
in all 3 Back to the Futures.
Was he in the third
He
one
did.
too?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
remember they had to go read back, and he was up in the
No,
rafters.
but that was in the second one, right?
Was that in the second
That
one?
was the second one.
I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
Third one, they
know.
went to the
I
Old
don't
saying
West.
seen
Marvin.
them.
Chuck, it's your cousin Marvin. You got to listen to this.
Listen to this, and he held the phone out.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was his band though?
Marvin Berry and the. Someone's gonna write in the comments.
I
Write
hope
in
they
the
do.
comments.
I'm not going to even the Marv Tones.
I don't think it was the Marv Tones.
No, I don't
There's
think
no
so.
way, and that's
We're
probably
going to
not
have to
it.
just wait and see the
We have to
response.
yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody
right.
knows, not us.
Yeah.
Not us.
Write it in the
Somebody's
comments,
on their
folks.
phone right now, like fact checking this.
They're
Do you have
checking it right now.
magnets? Do you have Desert Oasis Room magnets yet?
No, I want to get them done. No, this is an interesting story. I went to get pop sockets made, and they declined my submission, calling it a copyright infringement. They said that logo and that trademark already belongs to somebody, and you cannot use that.
Really?
And I had to send them a note and say, yes, it belongs to me.
I'm the guy.
Yes.
You're like, I can't infringe upon myself.
Can you please look at my account and see that I already have t-shirts, hoodies, pullovers. I have all kinds of stuff,
I'm the guy.
Yes,
Well,
this
at least
is
they're being
mine.
vigilant, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I thought, should I be happy that they're protecting my logo and my brand, or should I be angry that, because I've probably filed, this is no exaggerating, probably filed about 80 copyright infringement claims.
Oh wow, settle down, Paul Allen.
Well, yeah, those people are like, they're stealing my logo and they're making stuff with
It's
it.
a palm tree.
It's a couple palm trees.
Okay, all right.
It's 2.
Couple.
Well, it's
Two.
It's the arrangement.
You can have 1 palm tree or 3 palm trees. You
It's the
cannot have
arrangement
2.
and the font. But they'll use a different font, and then I'll be like, hey, that's my logo, and I'll have to actually file a copyright
The
infringement
Desert
claim.
Oasis Chamber, is that what they're trying
And
to
then they even made one that had cactus and a what do you call that? The bull skull? What do they call that?
It's a cow skull, I guess.
Cow skull, yeah.
No, there's a name for it. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah.
But then that one
Right
sounds
in the
different
comments,
because
right in the
that one
comments.
has
There's
2
no cow skulls
different
in Eastvale.
elements to it.
Well, because they thought Desert Oasis from, it must have desert-like qualities to it. So they put like a little sand dune with the sun setting, and then a cactus, and then the
And then 2 palm
And-
trees?
no palm trees.
No, no
Does your
palm
wife help you with that stuff?
No, I do it all myself.
Okay, because I can bring in Jamie if we need to.
Does Jamie do graphic
Counselor
design?
over here. Junior counselor.
I'm the muscle over here.
I know it was only when she was 22, but she's 27
Don't
now.
worry.
So
Right.
All 5'2" of me is
There
going to
you
come
go.
in and
There you go.
regulate over here.
I wouldn't mess with you.
Yeah.
Now, as a Hollywood stylist,
Yeah.
what do you think of my shirt?
It's
I think
inside
it
out.
seems very you.
It's inside
Okay.
out. I can tell, but because
It's
it's,
the reverse
faded.
print. It's the reverse.
No, it's
It's a
like the
joke.
style. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and is it okay for me?
It's good for you.
And what about
It
Adrian's
works.
shirt?
Adrian's shirt works for him.
And your top is wonderful.
I feel like
also.
we're all very
Yeah, we're all
like,
very tropical.
Island,
Very
yeah.
tropically.
island friendly.
This is from the 70s. And I think that's from the 80s, right? Because
No,
it's
this
the
is
reverse
from
print.
like 6 years ago, but
No, I mean yours looks like the 70s, like non-breathable, like never
It's nylon.
combustible,
It's like nylon.
nylon,
Yeah.
polyester.
Yeah. You know, when I was 12 years old.
Waterproof-ish or water resistant.
Yeah, very much so. Cocktail resistant.
Jackie
Yes,
Wilson
that's
would not wear
important.
that shirt.
When I was 12 years old, my favorite shirt was a nylon Primo Hawaii shirt.
Oh,
It was blue and black. I remember it vividly. I don't even know what happened to it. It's kind of a bummer. But
Yeah.
anyway,
well, let's find the same shirt.
interesting tidbit for the
Let's
day.
find it and reunite you.
Yeah.
Like here's the thing: in like 20 years, your shirt will still be looking like that. Boris's shirt will like probably deteriorate.
Yes, my
Yeah,
collar's
that's right.
already
That's right.
given up.
That's right.
Not cocktail resistant.
Not
over
cocktail
here.
resistant.
More industry terms.
Well, Jamie, I appreciate you joining us today, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you bringing us all of these aged rums.
Which
Yeah.
were delicious.
Because
or
rum
are
is fun,
delicious.
right?
Rum is fun. Do you have an Instagram or anything you want to promote?
I do have an Instagram account. It's Jet Set Jaymee.
Just a Jamie. Okay.
Yeah, but it's Jaymee.
Okay.
My parents were quite creative with the spelling of my name.
they sounded it out.
Right? It's phonetically spelled, so you can't get it wrong. Although
There
I
you go.
still get people living in LA, I still get people like, Jaime? I'm like, it works, whatever.
I love that. Well, thank you again for bringing all the rum. And thank you, Boris, for joining the podcast as usual.
Oh,
our favorite person on the
you're
podcast.
welcome. Thanks for
Thank you
having
so much.
me. I enjoy it.
And
You
while
wouldn't know where else to be, so.
while we're here at DAMA, we're going to enjoy ourselves. I think we've got some food, and we've got some more rum happening.
Some
Yes.
food, some
Maybe some more
rum,
cocktails
some cumbia in the background.
and all
We're
that.
good, yeah.
Awesome. And for all you guys out there that have any questions, comments, or just want to leave a shout out, stop by our Facebook group page inside the Desert Oasis Room, and make sure you give us a follow at Polynesian Pop. Okay, guys, this is what you're missing right now. More rum. Cheers.
Cheers.
Aloha.
Cheers.